Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Daytona International Speedway for the Daytona 200 here in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series presented by DesignPing, where we're going to find out who our Championship 4 will be. My name's Alayton Norgard. Joining me is William White as race control and Carlos Acosts manning the camera. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, going good. Ready, as you said, to decide our championship contenders here that will fight for the crown in 2 weeks' time at Michigan. Daytona, the slightly bigger track on the cars tonight. Always fun to have a cut-off race at a super speedway. More from a fan's perspective than probably from the perspective of a driver. It should be fun to watch over 200 miles.
And the big story tonight is going to be who's going to make the Championship 4. So if we can pull up the points here, we can look at the current situation that these drivers are facing going into this race. We've got Justin Vandermeer in the lead, up over 5th place by 27 points. Caleb Becumer in second. He's got a 23-point lead. Cale Pocock in third, up by 22 points. And then Jay Connor is the final driver currently entering this race, up by just 9 points over Michael Hossack in 5th. Gavin Hibbs is another 3 behind Hossack. Jacob Adams, 2 more points, tied with Gavin Higgins. And Josh Clark, another 2 points. That point, it's getting to the point where I don't think it's going to be possible for Joe Francis, Harrison Talon, or Austin Nabnett to make the Championship 4. We have 32 drivers here tonight, so there are not going to be that many points available to swing the standings here in this race. But there are still chances for a lot of these drivers in the playoffs to get that 4th spot. The top 3 are looking pretty good right now, though.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way, as you mentioned. The top 3, Vandermeer, Becumer, and Pocock, all within 5 points of each other, and 13 back to 4th place. Jay Connor, who's got a few others breathing down his neck, but got the starting grid coming up here. And Dominic Wright actually managed to put it on pole. Gavin Hibbs in 2nd place. Generous Seamless in 3rd. Josh Osborne as well. Good qualifying for him. He will start outside 2nd row. Josh Clark, winner from Kentucky earlier in the season. Dave Huckleberry with the stunning qualifying. He's up on the 3rd row in position number 6. Sean Judson and Sam Batwell 7th and 8th as well, accompanying at row at number 4, and rounding out the top 10 later is going to be Austin Nabnett and Ray Bracey.
And then on the 6th row in 11th place, we've got Cale Pocock and Dylan Javier in 12th. In 13th, Dave Carpenter and Mark Rabilis in 14th. Kind of some surprising qualifying results here so far. Corey Abbott in 15th, Andrew Hardcastle in 16th as teammates on Abbott Motorsports. Jacob Adams in 17th, Mitch Javier in 18th. A couple rows behind his brother there. Frank Fody in 19th, Michael Hossack in 20th. Connor Thompson in 21st, Gavin Higgins in 22nd. We are going to have some EOLs here that we'll go over later on. Dave Westergreen in 23rd, Justin Vandermeer in 24th, Joe Francis in 25th, Chris Albrecht in 26th. And just a few more rows here. Caleb Becumer in 27th. What's his first name? Here's Hausler in 28th. Jay Connor in 29th. And Harrison Talon in 30th. And on the final row, we will have Colbert and Kurt Gibson making his first appearance at Daytona here in these speed weeks, in actual series races. We do have Connor Thompson, Andrew Hardcastle, Caleb Becumer, and Dave Huckleberry opting to take EOLs here to start at the back of the pack here, kind of trying to avoid some of the potential danger going into the start of this race.
Yeah, definitely. 4 cars, including obviously Dave Huckleberry, who started 6th, or qualified 6th, I should say. Um, as it was a playoff race that he had no stake in terms of not being in that playoff grid. He didn't really want to interfere, I suppose, especially in the early stages. Um, Up at the sharp end of the field, which is perfectly fine. So those 4 cars will take an EOL, probably just to try and make a few more laps than they potentially would if they're in the middle of the pack. So definitely not a bad idea, but um, definitely a good qualifying for a lot of these guys. Dominic Wright, Josh Osborne, Jaden Racima, Sam Boutwell, all guys we don't usually see up towards the front. Getting it done here in qualifying, we'll see if they can stay there.
Yeah, we do have teammates on the inside here with Dominic Wright and Jaden Racimus. I expect them to kind of stay hooked up at the start. Josh Osborne up here at the front in 4th place after one of those. Well, actually, he was there before the yellows, but up in 4th. Gonna need to see what he can do with Gavin Hibbs to contest those teammates on the inside. And then just a pretty good mix of cars. A couple of teammates behind them in Dan Boutwell and Ray Bracey, but we are under green here at Daytona. Going to find out who these championship 4 will be next week at next race in 2 weeks at Michigan, as Josh Clark and Josh Osborne swap lanes immediately going into turn 1.
It's a very good start from the lights from Dominic Wright. He's got new Abbott Motorsports teammate Jaden Racimus as well behind him in that number 19 machine. Of course, Racimus has come close to victory a couple of times this season. County Raceway is immediately a race that springs to mind. He was fighting Michael Harsack for victory on that particular night, and they are hooked up nicely, as are the 96 and the 28. Gavin and Josh up on the high side. They're good friends in the Pro Edge / the Hood / whatever you want to call them friend group that takes up about half the league. They are hooked up nicely. On the outside lane, joined by Sam Boutwell and Ray Bracey, both of South Shore. Gavin Hibbs, with a good push from Josh Clark, is now going to take control of that inside lane that's now pushed by Dominic White in the 12, trying to see if he can surprise anyone with his second ARCA / Development Series victory of his career. And already one into the wall, I believe that was Mitch Havia. I think it looked like a white car up into the outside retaining wall there. So already guys pushing the limits here, just a couple laps in.
It's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be a dominant lane here tonight as far as what it looks like with equal pushing. I don't know that we have had equal pushing in each lane so far. The bottom definitely has more momentum, a better position right now. They've pulled ahead 4 or 5 cars over the outside, but the outside is starting to build up a bit more and come back forward somewhat. But not having the greatest runs there. Josh Clark pulls down into the bottom there, leaving comes right back up. Was going to be the 2 teammates from South Shore leaving the outside, but still 6 or 7 cars ahead of them on the inside. I don't know that I want to stay on the outside if I'm these guys right now, with the way this is looking right now. But if I can say right now a couple more times, but yeah, it's shaping up to be a pretty clean start to the race so far. We'll see if we can make it past lap 6, I believe, was the first caution in the truck race, and then 13 perhaps in Xfinity, if I'm remembering correctly. Should be pretty doable for these guys. They don't look to be too eager to jump to 3 wide, and 2 wide is pretty safe to run in, but we'll have to see how this continues to play out. Still early doors here in this race at Daytona.
Yeah, they shouldn't be too hard pressed to do better than the trucks in the Grand National Series did on Sunday and on Monday. I don't think either race. I think trucks was a third under yellow and Xfinity was a quarter under yellow. So hopefully a little bit of a better showing from the 4th Division Stock Car Series in the league. A couple of drivers you see in here has lost the draft. That's Andrew Hardcastle, Connor Thompson, Caleb Pacuma and Dave Huckleberry. It's not really what Caleb Kuma wants. He's in the championship fight, as we mentioned. He's second, 4 points off championship leader Justin Vandermarel. But he is okay-ish on the bubble. He's about 14 points ahead of the bubble, but of course, being 31st, that's probably taking a risk that I wouldn't want to be taking. I wouldn't want to finish 31st. That is for sure. But Gavin Hibbs, he's in a good position to get, I think, what will be his 4th win on the season. He swept all the road courses. I don't know if he's got any on the ovals yet, but what has been a storybook season for the 96. I'm sure he'd love to cap it off with a win at the World Centre of Racing. Dominic Wright looking for his 2nd win in the series, as we've mentioned. Austin and Abnett leading outside, looking for his 1st, as well as Jaden Racimus up there, and Josh Osborne, let's not forget. With the qualifying, he's managed to stay in the lead pack so far. It has looked very clean, like you mentioned. Everyone really keeping their distance. We saw at Talladega, these new spec ARCA series cars really not pushing as cleanly as their flat bumpers may initially tell you. We had a lot of cars facing the wrong direction just from a dodgy bump draft or two. So I think that's something that these guys are beginning to be more wary of since that race. And I think everyone's taking it a little easy, less than a 10th of the way through proceedings here.
I was actually looking at the season stats on SimRacer Hub before the race here, and Gavin Hibbs has 5 wins so far, and he has just about as many poles as well. I believe I can pull that up. Yeah, 5 poles and 5 wins. So he's had quite the season here in ARCA, kind of making it a one-season wonder for him. Still got quite a hill to climb ahead of him if he wants to also pull a championship out of that after the race he had last week. Last race wasn't last week at Gateway, but now we're starting to see some 3 wide here. That was Pierce Hauser, I believe, getting into the wall, top of 3. Manages to stay clean. That's 3. I'm not sure what team they're on in this series, but Lake Norman affiliated with Austin Namnit, Dylan Javier, and Pierce Hauser there on the outside. Behind that front group as Dominic Wright down on the apron, going quite slowly now. I'm not sure something happened to him there, but...
So, gentlemen, I've just spent a couple minutes reviewing. Oh, there we go.
Wrecking. Yeah, that 3 wide did not work out. I think Dominic Wright said he blew his engine, and that was why he dropped down on the apron. We'll see what happened on the replay here to cause this wreck, but yeah, that was right in the middle of that pack of cars running 3 wide. So not entirely unexpected, but not what we want to see. Right in the middle of the trucks and Xfinity with that first caution coming on lap 9. First car I saw sideways there was Dylan Javier. Not sure where that started. It looks like Austin and Nabnett leading that outside line gets a little out of control almost, and causes potentially Dylan Javier to slow up, and I'm guessing probably a bump from behind. We'll see if we can get an angle that shows that a bit more clearly. Okay, yeah, we see Austin and Abnett almost make it 4 wide there, and just starting to get contact. Started with Dylan Javier and Dan Boutwell, with those 2 cars on the outside lanes behind him. That checks up Dylan Javier, checks up Pierce Hauser behind him, but not quite as much as Dylan Javier was slowed down. And that got him turned sideways by his teammate there. Just a unfortunate stack up, a very similar situation to the wreck that I had last night with changing lanes and then not quite being clear when you come back, even if it's not an intentional lane change. but definite stack up there, causing our first wreck of the night here. And we are seeing cars come down pit road. Most of them, I believe 3 cars staying out. With that being Sean Judson, Parker
5
Biles, and
cars.
Josh Osborne. Michael Hossack also out, and Chris Albrecht staying out of pit road. So some of those cars gaining quite a bit of track position by that choice to not come down pit road. From what I understand, there's about 33 laps of fuel in these cars in a pack, so they've got another 20 laps in a bit that they can run, possibly more with possible saving, but they're going to be hoping for another caution before they have to make a green flag stop. And,
I noticed
not as big a window as this other guys.
Alayton, I noticed during that initial run we had 4 or 5 cars kind of just separated by themselves, all the way in the back. It's not like they were trying to avoid an incident. They weren't even grouped together. They were all just single file, separated, all by themselves, losing their pack. Individually, I went back and I saw individually, they just kind of lost the pack. So I don't know if it's the draft package or if they were being just extremely cautious and just lost it. Yeah, there was no single incident or mistake that just caused a couple drivers to lose the draft. They all just seemingly just started losing it slowly. And
Yeah, I
race
had
control.
actually.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was curious why Caleb Kimmer was so far back, so I rewinded to take a look at it myself. And yeah, on the initial start, he just didn't get quite the jump as the cars in front of him. I guess I don't think he was close enough to get the full draft, and just kind of fell back without a car behind him pushing, kind of suffering from that EOL that he opted to take.
So race control has determined fault for this incident. I'll go ahead and show it
has
again,
returned.
and William White can go over his message.
Yeah, so no action for the caution number 1 incident between car 60 and the 57. It was a tricky one. There was a lot of sort of dispersing going on. Dominic Wright blew his engine a couple laps ago. We had a lot of drivers dispersing. I think there was a big stack up. 3 wide we saw. Eventually it became kind of offset 4 wide. Austin was moving around a lot in between both lanes. Dylan, I can assume, kind of saw a gap that also didn't really exist. So based on Austin both moving about and Dylan kind of getting into the back of him, I would say it was more caused by both of them making a mistake than neither of them. But based off the guidelines, I can't tally them for that because no one driver is at fault for it.
So what you're saying then is that Dylan went for a gap that was always going to close, and Austin closed that gap. So it was both of their faults,
never
and
a
therefore
gap.
no tally.
I think
That sounds like a very similar thing for me, Will.
Well, the difference with yours and Dylan's instance, there was a gap. Austin was moving
Oh, there
between
is a
both.
gap.
There
He was
already a
almost 4
gap.
wide there for a second.
Almost.
Guys, don't forget the most
Oh,
famous
right.
quote in all of
gap
motorsports
car.
racing: "If gap car." Michelle Shoemaker.
There was about 0.9 of a gap, and Dylan went for it. Austin was moving around a lot between both lanes. That's why I was a racing deal. That's my interpretation.
We are coming back to the green flag here. Getting back underway. We'll see if we can stay double file here and avoid the 3 wide. See if pushers can avoid blowing themselves up less than 10 laps. I can't believe you did that, Dom. But yeah, back under green. Michael Hossack gets a run on Sean Judson, jumps down to the bottom in front of Mark Bilas. Those 2 are teammates, so you can expect those 2 to stick together. And that's Josh Osborne behind them. On the outside is now Sean Judson. Gavin Hibbs abandoning Sean Judson, with Josh Clark following. Sean really kind of just getting left hung out to dry. I can speak words. Making it 3 wide with Ray Bracey and Sam Boutwell right now. Sean Judson really kind of hanging on a lot better on the outside with no help than I would have expected him to. I guess getting some of that draft from the outside line in front of him. As you see Gavin Hibbs drop down to the front now. Jaden Racimus and Josh Clark on the outside. That bottom still working a bit better than the outside. I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be the trend tonight, where the bottom is just going to work a bit better. A lot of the time in these other packages, we see the outside as a more dominant lane. What are your thoughts on that, Will?
Yeah, it definitely looks to be a lot more like the next gen in terms of one lane definitely looks to be more dominant than the other. Now that everyone's dropping back to the low line, I think it is to do slightly with the fact that Arcade does have less power, so there's more of a, I suppose, greater benefit to doing less distance around the racetrack, irrespective of the draft. And because these cars are so drafty, kind of like the next gen, there can be, if you're organised enough, a big difference between the sort of momentum that two different lines can take. Like with the trucks and the Xfinity cars, they often reach a big stalemate where it's just the leaders of every 2 or 3 lines, they're all just neck and neck, neither line can really break through. But I think with how aerodynamic these new spec cars are, I think if you're more organised, especially like we saw at the beginning of the race, you saw the inside cars really, really tucked up under one another. It's kind of what caused Dominic's car to eventually blow. That was what was able to kind of push them further than the outside lane. I think we're seeing that again here. So I think the outside lane can work. I think it's just about them getting themselves organised, really. But I think the inside does have kind of an intrinsic advantage, being the inside line, being the shorter distance.
Yeah, we haven't really seen the outside form up since the restart until about now. They were fighting each other, making it 3 wide, well behind the inside line. But they've gotten it together now, and Gavin Hibbs is pushing Ray Bracey pretty nicely. It's getting them back in front of the inside. Ray Bracey going to lead this lap here with that help from Gavin Hibbs. As they drop down, they both had the same thought. Oh, but there goes Ray.
That's gonna be bad. Jaden's in it.
That may have been a penalty for Ray
there.
Bracey if the caution hadn't even come out.
Yeah, both those guys wanted to make that move down. I think I can't tell if Ray was going for it in reaction to Gavin making the move, but yeah, they were just out of sync with that move down and did not work out. I think Gavin would have needed to lift to make that wreck not happen, but when he thought he was moving down to a clear lane, he wasn't gonna go for that. A lot of cars caught up in this though. Hard to get a good look at who all it was, but see if I can get an angle here that shows more. Going up into the outside wall, we've got Josh Clark and David Westergreen going up into the wall with Jacob Adams. The 11 with Chris Albrecht gets caught up in that. Jaden Racimus, as Will had mentioned, Colbert runs into them. That might be most of the significant contact, I think. A little bit with Mark Urbilis in the 99. Joe Francis avoids pretty much all of it. He slows up in time. But Ray Bracey, Jane Racimus, really kind of the big sufferers there. It always hurts as the leader to go from that spot in the lead to just getting turned around, and then especially when you're going into the corner, you have nowhere to go except right back up onto the track in front of the field. And then it's just a question of how many cars are going to hit you before you come to a stop. It's a really helpless feeling in that area of the track specifically. But some of these guys made some good moves avoiding that contact. Caleb Kimmer for one. Gavin Higgins staying alive in his hopes for the championship 4. I actually didn't keep track of Gavin Hibbs through that wreck. Did he get a whole lot out of that? I think he stayed almost completely clean after Ray Bracey went around on his nose. So he's still in good shape. Got a bit of a hill to climb, as we mentioned, with the disconnection that he had at the last race. Michael Hossack got through pretty cleanly. Another contender that is in good shape. Caleb Kummer is fine. Justin Vandermeerl got a little bit of contact, but I don't think it would be anything significant. So these guys are still in good shape for their championship hopes. But while we are under caution, let's go ahead and get a hear from one of our sponsors. DesignPing is a design agency that specializes in creating websites and digital content that not only look incredible, but also enable your business to outperform all of your competitors. Make sure you check out designping.com to learn more. I believe we are going to be coming to the 1 to green this time around. Still
I can
waiting
go ahead
for...
and give us our second sponsor, which is a commercial from the fine folks at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So we'll be right back with the restart. But restart number 3 of the race.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to www.raceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20 down.
Back.
All right, we are half a lap to taking the green flag here. We've got I think we have a race control call that was made, but a little contentious. Still waiting for Will to come back and then he can announce it. But yeah, here we there's the... That is not the call I expected it to be, but I'm interested to hear what Will is going to have to say with that tally going to the 7. I do see how that would be the call. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll hear from Will in a minute here, but we are taking the green flag here, getting the restart going. Josh Osborne getting a big jump on the outside. He stayed out. Dave Huckleberry also stayed out on the inside as the lead car. Worth noting, the only car that has not pit under any of these cautions yet is Josh Osborne. And we are 21 laps in. So if this goes more than 10, 15 laps, he's going to be pitting under green by himself. That's not a situation I would want to be in. But Will, you're back. Tell us about your call.
So that was a tally on the 7 of Ray Gracie. Simply because he made the block, which is fine, but he wasn't clear. Pushed Gavin Hibbs onto the apron, and eventually that initiated what was the caution contact. Excuse me. The trouble that I had with it was that then kind of looks like Gavin just jumps back up the track from the apron and just wipes Ray out. So I checked to see if there was at any point that Ray was clear, even if he did push Hibbs onto the apron. He was never clear. Hibbs was always at least there to some degree, and we're barreling into turn 1 at about 185, 190 miles an hour. Gavin needs to come back up the track. He can't stay on the apron, not at that speed, even if, you know, he elects not to come back up on the track to not hook Ray. I think that would end in heels regardless, because you can't keep that speed going flat on a flat, slippery surface like the turn 1 apron. So I think, you know, the contact was both initiated by Ray, and I don't think the 7 really did enough, I think, to give Gavin room to come back on the track after having pushed him off. So I think the tally was, albeit a tough call, I think that was probably the right decision.
Had there not been a wreck, would the 7 have been penalized regardless for kind of shoving another driver below the apron?
There's nothing in the rulebook that gives me that power. So if that didn't end in a crash, it would have just been no action. So there's nothing actually I can physically do about it. Even if I have a thought about it, there's nothing I can do.
That is
I think at
interesting
most,
to know.
if you force a driver below the yellow line, that basically just gives them the freedom to be below that yellow line and come back up. Obviously, they can't take advantage of that and make passes down there, but there's no penalty for being forced down.
No. Yeah. So, like, if that happened at like the end of the race, come to lap 80, that same thing happens and Gavin wins the race, for example, getting forced below. Gavin would keep that win. It's not the same as just going below the yellow line to overtake someone coming to the flag, and that's I think you get EOL'd for that, but in end of the league lap. The penalty for that would be getting forced down there is fair game. It's essentially that sort of horse kind of made as a deterrent to not just push people off the apron, to essentially force them to lift. So I think with all that in mind, I think the 96 didn't really do anything wrong in that incident. Just unfortunately it wiped out so many cars.
But back at with the action that's happening now, I'm seeing something very interesting with how spread out these cars are at the front right now. We aren't really seeing a tightly formed line. We've had 2 to 3 cars kind of spaced out as Michael Hossack gets turned around by Josh Osborne coming back up on the track right in front of Ray Bracey. Ray really not having good luck in these past
Well, Josh can
5 or
pit
10
now.
laps.
He can pit now. It didn't go 10 to 15 laps. That's good.
Yeah, he's gonna have to pit here, or it's not gonna end well for him. But I think it's pretty clear cut. There's just a bad bump. I'm curious to see what that looks like a bit more closely. Like, is Josh moving up or down the track when that bump
Yeah, a little.
happens, or mostly straight through the corner? Oh, just rewinding,
Yeah, it
you
did
can see his
kind
car
of look
just moving
like
up and down.
it did kind of look like he did move up a little as he made that contact. Here, if I can slow it down right there, he's moving on up, and that gives him a that was enough to actually turn the 24. I don't think there was any net code involved. I think that's just an honest to God bad bump, unfortunately. 24 goes around, and it could have been a lot worse, but only having 2, maybe 3 cars involved was probably better than what I thought it was going to be. That 24, though, did take a tow. I think that car could have kept on going, but I think Hossack is just not having a good speed weeks right now. And race control immediately with their decision.
Yeah, he did. Michael Hossack did take a hit directly on the nose from Ray Bracey, so he could have a more significant front end damage, engine damage than the bodywork might show. But yeah, you can absolutely push through the corner in these cars, but you have to be able to hold the car stable when you're doing it, and Josh Osborne did not. Is that basically what your take was on that, Will?
Yeah, pretty much. It's fairly standard issue for super speedway racing, trying to bump the corner, trying to take all you can get. Josh simply didn't really hit Michael that square, turn him around. There's not much more to it. That's why that call was so quick. I basically saw my tally call as it happened live. So yeah, no real big nuance to that like the last two calls necessarily.
But yeah, Michael Hossack did take that toe, and he has disconnected already, along with Ray Bracey. So both of them are out of the race. That is going to be the end of Michael Hossack's playoff run. He was in 5th place. He's going to be finishing probably in 24th out of 32 cars. So he will not be able to make the final 4 for our championship race at this point. But that helps out Gavin Hibbs. That helps Jacob Adams. That helps Gavin Higgins, Josh Clark. But those top 4, Jay Connor currently running in 18th. In 12th, actually. Caleb Pocock is in 5th. Caleb Kumer is in 14th. And Justin Vandenmerel is up in 4th. So all of those guys still in good shape here. Caleb Kumer doesn't have the track position, but we still have a lot of race to go. And it's more about survival at this point than anything. So as long as he's not getting involved in these incidents, he's in good shape. We are 1 to green here. Let's go ahead and hear from our title sponsor for the series. This series is brought to you by RevLimit Workshop, your go-to for pulsating designs at unbeatable prices. Need a logo or a promo? Get yours for just $5. Want a full racing scheme that stands out? It's only $15. Contact us on Twitter to get your premium custom scheme today. And as mentioned, we are still early on in this race, relatively. Lap 28 out of 80. Going to have at least 1 pit stop required for these guys before the end. Everyone has pit at least within the last 10 laps. Josh Osborne did pit under that yellow, so he does have fuel once again and will not be at risk of having to pit under green anytime soon. But there are, looks like 7 cars that stayed out under this yellow that pit under the last. Gavin Hibbs and Boutwell, Harrison Talon, Justin Vandermeer, Pocock, Von Judson, Andrew Hardcastle, not Andrew Hardcastle, Mark Rubiles. But yeah, still, I would, with the way this race is going, I wouldn't be surprised to see another caution before a green flag stop is required for them. But we'll have to see how this plays out. As we are coming back to the restart zone, I don't think we'll see the kind of jump we did last time, but never know. Gavin Hibbs controlling that restart, and yeah, does not go for a crazy jump. May have just waited for the green. Sam Beltwell jumping down in front of Harrison Talon, just enough of a gap there to let that happen, as Justin Vandermeer drops down behind Harrison for the top 4 to single file out, with Kel Pocock and Sean Judson side by side as the first 2x2 cars. Andrew Hardcastle teammates with Kel Pocock, stuck behind Sean Judson on the outside instead of the inside. Probably want to see those two hook up and start working together as one of their goals, but there was a gap there behind Mark Kubilas and Corey Abbott, another teammate, but Andrew did not take it. So he may be content just staying up there on the outside line, potentially going for some track position, but never really know. Some guys just kind of do what feels fun to do. I don't know. Just wherever you feel safe at this point in the race, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the priority. And sort of the first 50 to 75% of these plate races, just do whatever is safe. Most drivers, I know I do, just typically like to hang on the bottom no matter what. Even if it drops me 20 positions, it gives you more space to dodge the accidents that are inevitable to happen in front of you. You know, it also makes green flag pit stops a little less stressful. You don't have to worry about pitting from the second lane or anything like that. So I think, yeah, being on the bottom, definitely not a bad place to be really at any point. In a plate race, especially this early on, and now on the bottom, is the first 4 cars in terms of position. That's Harrison Talon, Justin Vandermeer, both of Fuel Up Racing, Sean Judson, and Gavin Hibbs. Andrew Hardcastle now, though, of course, won a few seasons back at Talladega, another plate racing track, leading the outside lane, pushed by Joe Francis. So we'll see if Andrew can get himself another super speedway race victory here, but he's got a hard fight against him with just Joe Francis helping him, but a very organized pushing bottom line there.
Yeah, I know Andrew always looks forward to these races. He enjoys these plate tracks more than I do, for sure. But doesn't always go his way, but he does have that one win at Talladega, so you can kind of understand why he likes them. But those cars on the bottom just jumped up to the outside, and I don't know if there's a dominant line. I think it's going to be more just which cars are where, more than where they are. That determines who's going to be who has the advantage. There's such a wide range in driver skill in the ARCA series right now, when you have people like Gavin Hibbs with 5 wins on the season, and then I won't single anyone out, but other drivers that don't have the same experience level, that don't push quite as well, or take a push quite as well. You never really... It's hard to tell with that kind of variance what's down to what they're doing on track versus what what the cars are capable of versus what the driver is capable of, is what I'm trying to say. That was really convoluted, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, there is, as you mentioned, a big skill variance. Obviously, this is an entry-level series. It's the 4th division of stock car racing in the Elite Racing League. Everyone starts here, essentially, or at least they have done since 23A when the series was introduced. Before that, they just started in trucks, but this was introduced as the development series. It's obviously taken on that name since 25A. But of course, still a lot of experienced drivers from even before this series existed are in it. Justin Vandermeer, Harrison Talon, Gavin Hibbs, Joe Francis, Andrew Hardcastle. These are all very, very experienced drivers. Some have been on the service for over 10 years. So, even if they're not necessarily the quickest, you won't see them necessarily up front in Cup and Grand National and that sort of thing. They have the experience, simply. They know how cars will push. And that's what you're seeing here. I mean, Gavin Hibbs and Justin Vandermeer, they're just taking off. They have a big gap back to Sean Judson. It's kind of disappeared now, but as Harrison Talon has to make a big save there. They know what's going to happen with sort of half the field being new to the series and new to the drivers as well. They don't know these names. They don't know what they're capable of. It's always a gamble on these sorts of tracks, working with those drivers, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, but that is often what you'll see in these ARCA races, where experienced drivers tend to be up towards the front because they just know simply more about it. Not necessarily that they're any quicker or any more skilled, but they simply have that experience, and that's paying benefits really for the entire bottom line here, led by Justin Vandermeer as the outside lane starting to just disappear here.
Yeah, you mentioned a save that Harrison Talon had a lap ago on the front straight. And that came from a little bit of an offset push on Sam Beltwell, where Harrison had to kind of back out of it and just to avoid wrecking there, which caused Andrew to back off to give him space to kind of gather his car back up. And that just kind of checked up the entire outside, had a 3 wide, as some cars chose to go around rather than lift themselves. And that really kind of split up the outside and set them back in a big way for a couple laps there. But they have warmed back up and really kind of gotten back going again, to the point where Gavin Hibbs was able to use that to get back into the lead of the inside line. He might have actually been there before, I'm not 100% sure, but Gavin Hibbs was on the outside, dropped back down to the lead on the inside. Now, may just be where he's more comfortable. But yeah, a lot of lane choice here is just comfort level, whether it's being on the bottom for those extra escape paths, or if you are a bit more confident, you can run that third line on the outside right up against the wall. I hate doing that myself. You'll almost never see me there because of that, but yeah, the outside kind of fell back again after Joe Francis and Gavin Hibbs dropped down. I don't think Andrew is too concerned about pushing Beltwell on that outside line to get back even with the front. I think he's just kind of content running and having a bit of space. I don't know that Austin Abbott necessarily agrees as he bumps Andrew down the straight to try to get him moving behind Beltwell a bit quicker, but honestly, there's no reason to need to move forward right now. There's no stages, no stage points to try and get. You just need to be logging laps right now. Still have just over halfway, another lap or two to the halfway marker, and a lot of race left and a lot of things that can go wrong. So the more you can do to minimize that, the better you're going to be later on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, we still have another pit cycle to go through. I don't think any of these guys are safe to the end either. So we have a lot of racing still to go, but Andrew Harcourt will definitely getting a little closer to the bumping out of Sam Boutwell. Boutwell finds himself in P4. I mean, up front, Hibbs and Francis are very much close together. There's a bit of a gap forming between those two and the rest of the field. As Boutwell now fills that gap, getting clear of Justin Manuel as we know that Colbert on the outside. Boutwell now again moves to the outside with the Roland Joe Francis, but Andrew Hardcastle isn't that close. Van der Merwel's going to squeeze in. He's going to sort of push Andrew out there. Andrew's not going to lift. We're now 3 wide there. But Hardcastle, without much help, has got quite a big run going just by himself, but he's going to quickly lose it. Van der Merwel, a shot to Boutwell as well. Boutwell's going to fill that gap, and it's all of a sudden getting quite shifty up towards the front.
Yeah, Andrew disproving me saying that he was just wanting to ride at this point as he chooses to go 3 wide instead of lift to stay behind Van der Merwel. I don't like that move from Van der Merwel, though. Just kind of forcing his way up into that lane. He wasn't clear, but Hardcastle was able to see it and react to avoid any incident or contact there. But he does end up losing out quite a bit, losing about 10 spots on track, and getting some momentum back with his teammate Corey Abbott right behind. I'm curious if he's going to take the run that they're building right now to go 3 wide, or if he's just going to kind of stay where they are. Harrison Talon had blinked out right in front of them for a moment, going down the backstretch, and then reappeared in the middle of turn 3. But looks like Hardcastle and Corey Abbott are going to stay in line for the moment, and they're going to be side by side at the lead with Gavin Hibbs and Justin Van der Merwel coming up on a lap car. Chris Albrecht, that's he's in 20th place, so that'll be 19 cars on the lead lap, down from 32. That is 8 cars that are out, possibly 9, math is hard, and then 3 more that are laps down, and that's about to be 4, with Chris Albrecht getting passed by the pack here. Suddenly the side-by-side really kind of went away as I noticed Gavin Hibbs going quite a bit further up the track as he went around Chris Albrecht than I expected, considering he was just on the bottom line, but Justin Vanwell on that outside really kind of fell back there, coming onto the front straight. And we're now single file for the first 6 cars. The speed at which these lines are forming and falling apart is a little crazy, especially after running the trucks and Xfinity, where especially trucks where you can be 3 wide and not have any movement in the lines for laps and laps at a time, as long as you're not wrecking. These just seem very dynamic in how quickly a run can form and just as quickly it can fall apart.
Definitely, and that bias seems to be more towards the inside line. I think it's easier, to get a little bit more organised on the inside line there than it is on the outside. I suppose being on the inside, you're gonna always run the yellow line, typically, maybe half a car width above it for safety's sake, but everyone knows we're going to be running the inside line. I think when you're on the outside line, there's always kind of the unknowing element of exactly how far outside you're going to run, because you have so much more track at your disposal. Is he simply going to run on the door a little bit above? Is he going to run the seam? Is he going to run the wall? Obviously talking about the lead car there, France is quite a bit off of Justin Van Maren, their 4th car on the inside line. And obviously it's the job of the likes of now Connor Thompson, Jacob Adams to then react to that and push Joe as best they can. Van der Merwe sort of looking in between both lanes. I think that's the entire inside lane they're moving up. That's to make way for Frank Foti, who's coming back on the track. They now move back down. So it really is like a big chess match, as I think Connor Thompson might have got Joe a little bit loose there, or just not quite catching him square. That might have killed a bit of momentum, but I think the inside line is the place to be, especially at the sharp end of the field, in terms of being able to get yourselves organised and really get yourself a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, I think you do have to be a little careful running on the inside to not leave too big of a gap between you and the car in front. Almost had an incident here about half a lap ago with Jay Connor and Josh Osborne, where Jay was leaving a bit too much space in front of him, and Josh thought about moving down but didn't quite have the space to do it and kind of caught it at the last second and slid back up and has now slided in behind Jay Connor safely. But one thing that I've noticed this week in the other Daytona races is you can be running on the bottom and just slowly bleed away positions from cars, leaving a bit too much space, and cars on the outside taking advantage of that and sliding down, and you just slowly move back further and further on that inside line towards the back of the field, even though you're not losing. You don't feel like you should be losing spots, but people just filter from the outside to the inside, and not so much in the other direction. Although, I say that, and Austin Namnett moves to the outside, and with a run with Joe Francis, is ahead of Gavin Hibbs now, looking to lead a lap here maybe. Yeah, he's going to lead this lap, drops down in front of Gavin Hibbs. So there is absolutely the potential to make moves going from the inside to the outside, but by and large, I think most cars on the outside are looking to drop down rather than the opposite.
Yeah, definitely. I think that sort of run that we saw from Joe and Austin is really almost, I wouldn't say situational or necessarily 1 in a million, but it's the sort of thing you almost have to kind of set up over the course of a couple of laps. You have to work on timings that you build that run. Joe was able to push Austin a long way down the back straightaway. That's how he got to Gavin Hibbs. From that point, just side draft the 96 a bit so that you're staying in touch, sort of alongside with the momentum from the 56 behind you. Able to get ahead on corner exit, use that run coming down the hill, get clear, and immediately jump down. We're seeing it again here. Carl Thompson pushing Joe Francis. Francis now leads by just about a car length, and presumably if he can hang with the 60 as the 30 Carl Thompson does blink 56, just about staying ahead. He'll have the run coming down the hill here, and there you go, dropping it down just in front of the 60. That filters everyone in line on the bottom, essentially back one spot, and we now have Connor Thompson and Jacob Adams working together on the high side.
I've been keeping tabs on the Championship 4 drivers and where they're at in the pack here occasionally, and just a few laps ago, Caleb Kumar was at the back of the pack, and right now he's 4th in line on the outside. I imagine he's about to be 3rd in line, as Connor Thompson will probably drop down in front of Joe Francis here, if I had to guess. And if he doesn't and they get a bit more space, it'll be Jacob Adams that drops down. But Caleb Kumar has been sitting at the back of the field. He was the car that lost the pack on the initial start because he wasn't that far forward. It wasn't quite far enough forward to stay lashed onto the back of the main pack. But up until now, he hasn't really shown any interest in moving forward. But now here he is running in 8th place right now, and could be up into 5th place if this outside line continues to drop back. As Frank Foti goes down another lap, he's going to be hitting that 6th lap down limit. We have that rule in ARCA, don't we?
I believe so, yeah. I think it's only 2003 that doesn't. So Dave Carpenter running 5 laps down, but he hasn't lost a lap in a little while, I believe. Yeah, he's drafting with David Huckleberry, just in an own 2-car tandem, so that's why he's not losing laps at the rate that Frank is. Frank is all by himself, although it's about to be caught by that 2-car tandem, so that might be his saving grace if he can latch onto those two. If Dave goes down 1 more lap and Frank Foti goes down 2 more laps, then yes, that will be their night's done. Dave and Dave have both just overtaken Frank Foti, and Frank Foti wasn't able to latch on, so that doesn't spell good news for car number 41.
With the speed that Frank is going, I have to assume that he has either significant wheel damage or some engine damage, because he is well under the speed that he should be going for how clean the front of his car looks.
His back end
That's
doesn't look too hot.
very unfortunate for him. His race is likely about to be over here in 23rd position. He won't lose anything more than 23rd, but he's not a playoff driver currently, so that doesn't really cost him anything. But still, I was unfortunate to not be able to finish a race here in Elite, but that's Daytona for you. Sometimes you just have the worst weeks imaginable at Daytona, and yeah,
It can be
it
cool.
just happens.
Daytona.
Don't ask me how I know.
You always have terrible luck at speed weeks, and I think we all do at Motorsports. We never get blessed. Actually, no, you won an Xfinity race, didn't you? To be fair.
Yeah, a couple seasons ago, and then it's been downhill from there.
Okay, that's fair. Still waiting on one of us to win the big one, the 500. That will be next week, I believe. Or is that? No, that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Never mind. Yeah. So that's tomorrow.
I'm nervous.
On the Elite Racing Network. I'm not, because I'm not racing, but I might be commentating. I'll have to wait and
I'm gonna
see.
step in, but we have pit stops coming right now.
Yay!
Those cars that didn't pit under the last yellow are running out of fuel now. So we've got Gavin Hibbs coming down, Joe Francis coming down,
That's
Who
a 50.
else? Sam Beltwell. Is it just
Corey
three?
Abbott.
Corey Abbott, Justin Vandermeer, Gavin Higgins, Harrison Talon, Jay Connor. So Vandermeer, Connor, and Gavin Hibbs all championship 4 contenders on pit road right now.
Hibbs overshot his stall. I had to back it up a little bit.
Oh, that's not going to be good. And they're going to be sitting here for a long time as they get as much fuel in these cars as possible. He still
Alright.
comes out ahead of, right with some other cars, so he's going to be fine as far as draft, but he definitely lost some track position by overshooting that stall. The two cars, Joe Francis and Gavin Higgins, got out well ahead of everyone else, which could potentially backfire on them if these guys warm up and build up enough speed as they go by. We could see those cars not able to latch onto the back, but they're probably safe from that with the small enough amount of time that this mini pack is going to have to build up speed before they get to them. I think they'll be okay as far as latching on, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. There's Jacob Adams, Austin Amnett, Caleb Kumer coming down pit road, Chris Hausler, Phil Pocock, Frank Fodi. Basically everyone else that had pit under that yellow is coming down pit road now under green. They could have stretched this out a bit longer, but you can make it to the end from here on fuel, so this should be the last pit stop for everyone, unless there's a yellow and people decide that they either need tires after spinning or want some little extra fuel for margin for any green light checkers that we might have. But 90% everyone can make it here without another stop.
Yeah, and I think that's the crucial thing now, is that it's essentially a straight fight to the flag now. We are essentially now just waiting for the entire field to converge in on itself, as all the packs will soon reform. Dave Huckleberry actually now leads the race by about 20 seconds, so a dominant performance here from Dave Huckleberry, although Caleb Kumer and Austin and Avner, second and third, are hooked up quite nicely. So those two are presumably going to start making their way towards the
I think we lost Caleb.
About to say, Caleb Kumer looks to have just dropped out of the race. I'm not sure if he's come back.
He has not. Oh, incident on track. Jacob Adams. And we've lost the wheel. Higgins. Significant damage to these fellows.
I think Jacob Adams is going to be done with the impact that he had with Gavin Higgins on that outside wall. His right front is... I don't think his right front is attached to his car anymore.
No, it is
so
not.
That's going to be a too much damage we're done call from his pit crew once he makes it back down to pit road.
Higgins
That's going to be... That's going to be the end of Jacob Adams' hopes for the championship floor. Caleb Kumer is still... he is now dropped from the server. But...
And caution is out.
Yeah, and
I would assume
William did
this
throw
is,
a manual caution there.
Yeah, I would assume this is related to this caution.
Andrew Hardcastle reported that he has a good view of what happened there potentially.
Okay.
Looks like it was just a bad push down the front straight by Pierce Hauser on Jacob Adams, sending Jacob down towards pit road, and then he comes back up, not really under control, and just slams into Gavin Higgins on the outside wall, and that is going to end his race and is going to be significant damage for Gavin Higgins. Looks like Jacob had some... Is that damage on his left front?
There's a little crinkle from an
I
earlier
can't see enough
incident.
pixels on this.
No, there definitely is damage there. But that I don't think had anything to do with this incident. It was just a bad push. You see right there, kind of comes down. The car never settles, and he continues to push right there, and that's enough to turn the car around. Or I should say, not even around, just angle it. 48 did not want to go down pit road, cranked it to the right, and unfortunately cranked it just a little too hard, and came all the way back up into the racetrack and into the 20. Got a shot from Hardcastle, but realistically, Hardcastle couldn't really do anything.
Yeah, when the lead car being pushed has front-end damage like that, the problem that they can run into is that they just can't maintain the speed that the car behind can, so the pushes just get that much harder. And if you're not aware of that as the car behind, you can very easily get in a situation where you're pushing harder than you think you are. And I think that, along with not quite tracking in a straight enough line, is what caused that issue there. Will, is that pretty much what you saw?
Yeah, pretty much. It is very easy to do. I mean, we saw a similar thing at Talladega. There were a lot of incidents where, obviously these guys getting new to the new pushing model. A lot of drivers, we mentioned it, just getting turned around the wrong way of seemingly menial pushes. That's kind of a similar thing, but we reminded them at the end of the Talladega race, obviously you know now, the pushing mode's a little bit more sensitive, so we're not going to be more lenient with bad bumps. So that was pretty much a standard sort of bad bump drive. He just didn't quite catch Jacob as square as he needed to. And eventually it turned the 48 around, so we just didn't push him straight, didn't quite push him square. These cars are sensitive, but these guys know that now. After, an hour-long practice in both Talladega and Daytona, and a race at Talladega, and 60 laps here tonight. So,
And who really lucked out on that caution was Dave Huckleberry. He had not hit yet under green. And with that caution coming out, he was able to go ahead and go down pit road under yellow and avoid losing a lap from needing to pit all by himself. And he will be with the pack as well on this restart. So that caution was just about perfect timing for Dave. I think he was probably up to around 32, 33 laps. And he was running either solo or in a tandem draft for most of that run. So using about as much fuel as you can. So he was about to need to come down pit road. So really kind of lucked out there for Dave. But now we have Corey Abbott in the lead. Phil Pekumer has reconnected after dropping out. He is 4 laps down after that disconnect. He will not be subject to that 6-lap down rule where he has to park. He'll be able to go up to, I believe, we'll count all 4 of those laps as disconnected laps, so he'll have down to 10 laps down. But I think with the number of cars that we have out of the race now, Caleb Pekumer was 26 points ahead of Gavin Hibbs. So I don't think it's possible for him to lose enough points to be out of the championship 4. Michael Hossack, of course, being out already, so he is not a factor for going ahead of any drivers that are still in this race. So we look to the 6th place driver, Gavin Hibbs, as the next benchmark there. Jay Connor as the most vulnerable Championship 4 driver, is still running. Looks like his car is completely clean in P11. So Gavin Hibbs still has a challenge ahead of him to make his way into the Championship 4 here. He almost definitely has to win and hope that someone around him in the championship standings has some bad luck to make it in. Very unfortunate for him to be in this kind of situation after having as dominant of a season as he has, but it really comes down to just a couple of races that can decide everything with this playoff format.
Yeah, definitely not the sort of thing that Gavin wants to see. But right now, the inside, I should say, rather, absolutely flying. Corey Abbott leading the race, and it's Gavin Hibbs with a big push to the back of that 21. And those two seem to be working together quite nicely. Justin Manamaro in third, Harrison Talent in fourth. They are all nip and tuck there. 4 in a row. With no one on their outside. The nearest side-by-side battle is Sam Boutwell and Austin Inabnet, 5th in line on the inside, but I think the 60 is going to win that battle as well. Yes, he will. So Mark Robilis now side by side with 47 to the inside line again, getting organised way quicker than the outside lane is, and it's proving really decisive.
Yeah, we've got cars that have broken up into 2 packs here. The second pack, Dave Huckleberry, Kelpie Keemer, Andrew Hardcastle, Dave Carpenter, Chris Albrecht, and Connor Thompson. I don't think they got the start that they needed to stay latched on to the pack in front. I don't think any of them really have significant damage, but they've just fallen back and are struggling to form up into a cohesive line to try and catch back up. They're going to be hoping for another caution here. I don't think they're going to be in any risk of going a lap down, but they are not going to be able to gain any positions relative to this lead pack. And this lead pack is getting quite small now, about 11 cars in it, 12 cars, I believe. So it was getting to small enough car numbers that it's kind of unlikely that we see a caution, potentially, unless someone just makes a pretty big mistake, which I wouldn't rule out, seeing some of the names in this pack, but you never know. Can always be surprised. As you see Josh Osborne weaving a bit as he's pushing the 56 of Joe Francis. Yeah, that's a 56. But yeah, continuing to see that the inside being a little bit more dominant. Corey Abbott pulling out in front of Joe Francis to try and go somewhere on the outside. Joe should be able to give him a pretty good push here for the next lap, and might see Corey Abbott make his way into the lead if things play out like they have in the past.
Joe Francis, definitely an experienced head, definitely knows how to push on a super speedway if he can get it nice and squared away, and looking potentially to get Corey pushed past Justin Vandermeer, a few hundreds between them. But we're going to look at a robotic instant replay. We've got Dave Huckleberry and Andrew Hardcastle leading this second pack. Whoa!
The carbon copy.
Round goes to 52, but that was a baller save there from ERN's own Dave Huckleberry. Turned around by the 22 of Andrew Hardcastle.
Whoa.
He keeps it going. Almost hit by Colbert, but he's still going.
Yeah, you could say that Dave made a better save on that than much more experienced Jacob Adams, but I mean, that's not really fair to say, because even if a wreck looks the same or an instant looks the same, the car is going to behave completely differently. But
yeah,
they did look very similar. But props to Dave for keeping that car straight and staying on track here. Although it puts him back in the situation he was before. where he's kind of running on his own. He may be able to hook up with the 17 of Colbert and prevent the two of them from losing too much time. But yeah, there is Jacob Adams saying that he had 6 minutes of damage before that crash. So he was not having a very good time of it in this race. That is unfortunately very common at Daytona. These plate tracks are treacherous. As Corey Abbott drops down to the bottom, may get that lap lead here. Gavin Hibbs will push him clear of Justin Vandermeer and definitely lead at least one lap. He may have earlier as well while we were looking towards the back of the pack, but Justin Vandermeer coming back on the outside now with that push from Joe Francis. He'll probably drop down. Joe going to be building up some abandonment issues as people come up in front of him for a push and then drop down and abandon him, but it's kind of how it goes here with this package, it looks like.
Yeah, especially with 11 tend to go, your friends are where you find them, rather than any team affiliations will take you. It is really every man for himself when you get inside the single digits here. Corey Abbott and Justin Vandermeer, good friends. Of course, Fueled Up Racing, Alayton Motorsports, they're two teams that are not necessarily technically affiliated, but all their drivers are certainly good friends with one another. They often work together wherever possible. Justin Vandermeer almost clear of Corey Abbott, who's now going to fight back on the bottom with help from Gavin Hibbs and Sam Batwell. Josh Osborne doing a good job getting to the back bumper of that 56 to help him get to the back bumper of that 80. And that's going to get Vandermeer clear of Corey Abbott just about. And presumably coming into turn 3, Vandermeer's going to drop down. He actually does not. And that's going to allow Corey to wedge that door back open and get himself back even with the 80. Going to side draft hard here off of 4. Again, Vandermeer actually not getting clear with the run off the hill. Gavin Hibbs giving a good push to the 21, and we are neck and neck with 9 to go here.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize we were so low on lap count remaining, but as we close in on the end of this race here, I'm starting to get a little afraid for some of these guys in the front with the kind of moves that we can probably expect to see on the final couple of laps. There's going to be guys looking for their first win in the elite that Joe Francis makes the move to the bottom. There's going to be guys looking for their first elite win that might not think their move through entirely, to phrase it somewhat nicely. There's a lot of risk that we're coming up against now as Justin Vandermeer now comes down, leaving Josh Osborne and Sean Judson on the outside. Osborne grateful for the chance to cool his engine down here before the closing laps of this race. But Joe Francis just can't get away from pushing. Didn't quite get the chance to lead that inside line like he might have been hoping to, but Justin Vandermeer right where he wants to be right now, most likely. We'll see if someone like Corey Abbott or Gavin Hibbs makes a move to the outside. Marco Biles coming up in front of Sean Judson. Josh Osborne actually dropped back in line on the outside slightly. Not sure quite how that happened, but here's another car back now. Corey Abbott not quite clear of Marco Biles, so not able to make a move quite yet. Joe Francis does move up. Corey follows him just enough room to clear Marco Biles by a hair. Justin Vandermeer loses a lot of momentum from both of those cars behind him moving up, and that lets both of them slot right back down in front of him on the inside. So tidy little move to take Justin Vandermeer from first place all the way back to 5th. And now 6 laps to go, getting really deep into crunch time, and going to start getting some dangerous moves here soon, I think.
Definitely, and I tell you what, we've got a nice little pack of cars here. The top 3 on the inside line have all won a race before. That's Joe Francis, Corey Abbott, and Justin Van Der Merwe. The 3 on the outside have all never won a race before. That's Mark Robiler, Sean Judson, Joshua Osborne as well. Harrison Talon, also 4th on the inside, has not won a race before. Neither has Pierce Hausler. I don't believe Sam Boutwell has either. So there are a lot of drivers here in the race for their first elite win. And currently they're 1, 2, and 3 as they've done brilliantly well to get organised. Inside 5 to go here. Very nip and tuck, bumper to nose there on the high side. And they've managed to clear all 3 of them. Joe Francis and Corey Abbott now going to collectively make the move back to the outside, followed by Justin Van Der Merwe. They're essentially going to switch sides here now, with 3 previous race winners now working the high side.
Gavin Hibbs going for moves on the outside, making a 3 wide here, but he keeps dragging his car along the outside, just bleeding away momentum every time he touches that wall. He's got a little bit of help from Harrison Talon here. Justin Van Der Merwe and Corey Abbott move up in front of him. You can probably expect those 4 to be willing to work together. Definitely Van Der Merwe, Hibbs, and Talon will. I believe they're all in Discord together right now. Corey Abbott is not in the same one as them. But they do not quite get the momentum to go anywhere. Corey looks to the outside, going 3 wide again. Gonna have Sam Boutwell come up to block. Gets a mighty efforts.
No hurting each other.
Hibbs cutting down under Van Der Merwe, leaving him out to dry. Corey moves up to in front of Justin, and Boutwell drops down. And now we're back down to 2 wide. And the outside just does not have the momentum to get where they need. And anytime they do, someone just pops up and stops them dead in their tracks. We're down to 3 to go, running out of time for these guys to put a run together and get up to the front of this pack. But not a lot of space for Hibbs to make that move up in front of Corey, but just enough to make it work. I can feel him looking for that outside gap, and he's going to follow Austin and Emmett. They finally get that run all the way alongside with the leader. Gavin Hibbs pushing Austin and Emmett completely clear the middle, and now carrying that over alongside on the outside of 3, trying to get ahead of an Emmett. Going to have Corey coming up with a big bump there. Getting that momentum on the outside alongside with the leader, not quite in the lead himself. 2 to go. Coming down to it, Mark Robiler was in the lead, gonna fall back, gonna get behind Gavin Hibbs as he drops down. Corey Abbott in lead car on the outside now with Harrison Talon. Oh, this is getting intense. Lap and a half to go. Will save me.
Corey Abbott now coming up to the back here of Gavin. So now 2 by 2 by 2. It was very erratic this past half of laps. Everyone jockeying for position. They now seem to have settled just in the nick of time. We're going to come to the white flag. There will be no green, white checkered. This race now is official. No matter what happens, or will it be? Pittel's hard into the ball. Is the yellow going to come out? No, it was the white flag. No caution, white flag. There's just 6 cars left in the race. The rest of them are absolutely destroyed. Not enough time for the yellow to come out. They're all going to limp back with fractured cars. 4 on the bottom, 2 on the top. Mark Robiler is leading this race with a push from Sean Judson now. Looking on the 3-way TV multicam, we come back to the fight for the lead. Mark Robiler looking for his first ever elite win. Sean Judson as well. They fight for position behind him. They're throwing the win away. They can't quite get there. Abbott, Hibbs, Van Der Merwe all working together on the high side. Van Der Merwe gets up. Judson to the outside. Can he get there? No. Mark Robiler is going to win at Daytona.
If Van Der Merwe didn't go around, I think he and Hibbs could have had enough of a run to challenge Robiler there, but Mark gets, I think that's his first elite win after, I don't even know how many starts. He's been here for years, and he finally gets his first win. Congratulations to Mark Robiler. Carlos, can we get a replay of that finish
No.
using his machine? Oh, you use the 3-wide TV. Okay, yeah. There we go.
Get you a replay. I have no other words but just no teamwork from anyone in the outside line at all. Those last 5 laps was pure example of all for one instead of like one for all, where everyone is just trying to get the best result they can for themselves. And while there's a semblance of a plan going on for these guys, no one's willing to actually stick through it and commit. And what we saw was just pure domination on the inside line. None of these guys really made a move until the very last lap because everyone else had either wrecked themselves or just couldn't catch up.
Yeah. You see that a lot at these play tracks. People are just going to go for what they can get rather than thinking about what they need to do to set themselves up a little bit further down the line. I'm honestly kind of surprised that we didn't get a caution on this wreck that we're seeing right now.
Dude.
There was enough time for iRacing to throw it before we took the white flag, but
Okay, whoa.
that second pack, that was a rejoin. That second pack was not close enough to trigger that yellow in time, I think, is the problem that we had. Everyone was down in the grass already. And does he steer up, or is his car just out of control there?
Thankfully, you and I don't have... Oh, maybe he was trying to get past the slow 60. But I don't know. I think I'm glad I'm not race control because I'm William White and I'm looking at that and I don't see any broken car parts. Sorry, if I don't see any broken car parts, I am not happy. But how about we go ahead and give one last ad read, play one more commercial, get ourselves set up for some post-race interviews. How does that sound?
Yes, and we'll see if we can get a points update before the end, but that's going to be on Chad if he's around.
Yeah, the ad
We
read.
do have that. But, we've done all the ad reads. Let's just have a commercial break quick.
Yeah, we'll be right back here in about 1 minute.
Years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge of your seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship playoffs are coming Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
All right, we are back and going to run down our race results quickly. Taking the win, his first win in Elite, Marker Bilas. Sean Judson, that's probably his best finish as well. In second, he's pretty new to the league. Gavin Hibbs finishing third. Corey Abbott fourth. Jay Connor, Championship 4 driver, in ninth. Cale Pocock, another Championship 4 driver. Jay was in fifth. His car number is 9. Neil Pocock, another Championship 4 driver, in 6th. Chris Albrecht in 7th. Andrew Hardcastle in 8th. Austin and Nabnett in 9th. Justin Vandermeer in 10th. Going to be the regular season championship winner, Justin Vandermeer. That's not true either. This isn't the regular season. Lead car in the championship standings going into the final race. Okay. Joe Francis 11th, Pierce Hauser 12th, Dave Huckleberry 13th, Connor Thompson 14th, and Sam Beltwell rounding out the top 15. Mentioned them all during the rundown, but well, not all of them. Justin Vandermeer is the points leader after that race. Of course, the Championship 4 are going to be equalized going into the final race. Cale Pocock does hold on in 2nd place, Jay Connor in 3rd, and Caleb McCumer, the big beneficiary from all the attrition we had earlier in the race. He finishes 4 laps down, but holds on to his spot in the Championship 4. So those will be your championship drivers going into Michigan in 2 weeks. So now we'll go ahead and bring in our podium finishers for our post-race interviews, starting with our 3rd place driver, Gavin Hitt. Gavin, lighten up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
That was a crazy finish to the race. First off, it looked like you and Vandermeer would have had enough momentum to potentially get alongside Mark the challenge for that win. Is that kind of the read you had on it, or do you think you didn't quite have enough for that?
I think we had enough for maybe Justin to get to him, but it was going to be super close. But I first want to say I'm sorry to Justin for that on the last lap, because these cars are just, it's so touchy to give them a bump draft like that. And it sucks that we had a chance to maybe get to Mark and Sean there, but just with how iRacing has these cars, it's just unfortunate that Justin got turned there and wrecked out. So
yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. If it makes you feel any better, he is firmly safe in the Championship 4. Unfortunately, you did not quite make it up in there after your issues at Gateway in our last race, but you have had a very strong season here. 5 wins, 5 poles. Are you disappointed? Well, obviously you're going to be disappointed that you didn't make the Championship 4, but as a whole season as a whole, are you kind of satisfied with what you were able to do, or is that championship really gonna kind of poison it for you a little bit?
I think this not being able to fight for a title is gonna put a fog over this season, and looking back on it in a few seasons to come, it's not really gonna remember. But all in all, bad start to the season, and then coming back and winning five races, sweeping road courses, and like you said, just problems at Gateway to where I couldn't run the rest of the race. Just it hurts, but I think looking back, it's those races that we should have won. Gateway was definitely one of them, and Kansas should have had a better run there. Just unfortunate speeding penalty there that costed us a chance at a really good finish. And it's unfortunate, per league rule, that I won't be back next season. But I got some guys in here that I'm like to consider good friends of mine, and looking forward to rooting for them in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those downfalls of the playoff format versus full season points where really just one race going badly can cost you everything. But you had a hell of a season regardless. One of the most winningest seasons in ARCA history, right there with myself and Will. But before we let you go, any shoutouts you want to give or sponsors you want to thank?
Obviously, numbers by Joe and Hibbs Design. We fortunate to have good-looking race cars week in, week out, especially in this ARCA season. And and shout out to Joe at Strictly Stock, to where we were running really good all night, and once we were able to get connected there after the green flag pit stops, just fortunate to have a teammate working to work with here in these types of races. And if he decides to come back next season, definitely gonna root for Joe, my teammate. So so again, shout out Strictly Stock.
All right, well, we still have one more race to run, but still want to congratulate you on the strong season, and good luck in all of your other races that are coming up here in 2025B.
Yeah, and once again, thank you to everybody who puts these broadcasts on, and you guys have done a good job all year, and I love looking back and watching these broadcasts. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, now going to be joined by Sean Judson. Sean, Alayton up in the booth, you got a copy?
I got you.
Off the top of your head, can you count the number of races that you've run in Elite so far?
Probably less than a dozen. Honestly, I haven't even run this full season. The upcoming 2025B season is going to be my first full season with the league.
And here you are, finishing second here in the penultimate race in this ARCA season. Congratulations on that. Bit of a chaotic one there. How did this race go for you overall, from your perspective?
It's a bit bittersweet. We were trying to get our third teammate, Michael Hossack, up in the front so he could, make the final four for the playoffs. But getting Mark up there to get his first win feels pretty good.
It's definitely been a long time coming for Mark, but with this run for you, do you think you're going to be looking forward to the next plate races that you run, or just kind of going to focus more on building experience overall here in Elite?
A bit of both. Like I've had decent speed on some of the other tracks. Like just had some bad luck, especially Gateway, the last race. Was running top 5, top 10, and got turned. So I've had speed. It's just getting used to the guys that I'm running around.
Yeah, for sure. There's a big learning curve with the range of guys that we have here in the league. Do you have any sponsors you want to thank or shout outs you want to give here?
W Energy, Rebilus Photo, KDC Photography, Jetty Designs, sponsor wise, Cover Bridge Racing, my team here in Elite, Michael Hossack, Mark Rebilus, my other teammates, Scott, AJ, Cole, the guys who get me faster and faster. And you guys for doing the league and the broadcast.
All right, well, congratulations on strong finish. You have first, second place, and look forward to having you up here in the booth more often in the future.
I look forward to it as well.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
And now we're going to be joined by Mark Rebilus. Mark, Alayton up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
It's been a long time coming. How long have you been running in Elite?
I believe it's
longer than me.
Yeah, I started in 2000, or not 2000, 2020. 25 years of trying. Yeah, no, and so that in the second half of 2020.
And so that's a lot of races to run in. Now you finally got that first win off your back. How's it feel for you?
Oh, it's great. I always knew that I could get it done at a plate track like Daytona or Talladega. I feel like I'm pretty solid there, but since I'm most of the time I'm running part-time in Elite, I always try to not be the one that's like getting up in the thick of things. So I'm usually pretty passive with the driving, but lately I've just been trying to put a little more grit and determination in it and actually try and get up to the front. So it's cool to see back-to-back nights. I had a top 10 last night in Xfinity at Daytona, so a 10th, a win, and that going into tomorrow's Daytona 500, that has me feeling pretty good.
Yeah, people always talk about momentum in racing. I don't think you get a whole lot more momentum than winning the night before. How do you feel your chances are for the 500 tomorrow?
It still would be a long shot. Like, I feel real good, but Elite is just such a stacked league of racers. Like, so many people can win that are like top tier drivers. So I almost have to rely on there being some carnage for it to happen. But I feel like I can get a top 15 tomorrow night for sure. I just gotta stay clean.
Yeah, we definitely had quite a bit of carnage here tonight. Did you see that wreck happening coming to the white flag behind you?
Yeah.
How badly were you hoping that it was staying green until you...
Oh, yeah, no, I was just waiting, because I've seen it happen before in iRacing where a crash comes out right as you're taking the white, and you see the white, but then it switches to a yellow, so I was just, please don't do that. So it was good, and then I had my teammate Sean Judson riding with me, so he was able to help keep me up at the front, and then ultimately we finished 1-2, which was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize before talking with him that you and Sean were teammates. So yeah, that must have been nice for you having someone that you knew was going to stick with you all the way to the end there.
Yeah, definitely. The original plan going into the race was we were going to try and protect our teammate Michael Hossack because he was trying to squeeze his way into a playoff spot, but he got murdered early on, so that kind of changed the dynamic of things. And then me and Sean were like, we're just going to race hard, and all the strategies out the window. We're just going to try and win, and we got it done.
Yeah, we saw Mark had towed after the wreck that he had. Did he lose his motor in that contact, or what happened?
I think he just had severe enough damage that he left before saying something that might get himself in trouble.
That is understandable.
Yeah. He's had back-to-back bad nights. He had a wreck last night in Xfinity, so Daytona hasn't been kind to him this week. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better tomorrow.
Yeah, I know how that feels. Well, before we let you go, any sponsors you want to thank? I know you usually sponsor enough yourself, or shout-outs you want to give?
Well, thank Chad Frankenfield for putting this league on. I like to give him a lot of hell, but Elite is really a great place to race, and the fact that I've been running it for so many years now, should tell you that. So that, a lot of thanks to Chad for dealing with everybody's crap. Thanks to my teammate Michael Hossack. Even though he didn't finish this race, I know he's going to be pumped when he sees that I won. Sean Judson again for helping me stay at the front. And a shout out to my buddy Bruce Gibson watching at home with his wife Nancy. I'm glad that you got to see that win. I might have to drink at lunch tomorrow. That's
all right,
it.
Mark. Well, congratulations on a win that was a long time coming, and definitely well deserved.
Appreciate it, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
All right. Will has never returned.
Nope, he's back.
Speak of the devil. Will,
Hello.
we just finished all of our post-race interviews. Do you want to go over the instance from those from the close of that race?
Yeah, so there was two tallies I ended up giving out. One was for Justin Vandermeer for the accident coming to the white flag, just going to the back of the right rear of Piss Hausler, turn him around. Not much to that. And then we also had a tally for Sam Boutwell for his rejoin up in the tri-oval that caught Connor Thompson and another driver who was drafting with Connor. I forget who at the moment, but that tore Connor's right front completely off. So both of those, because it wasn't a yellow, they were instead severe damage penalties. But still a bog standard tally for those two. So 5 drivers actually getting tallies from tonight, which is less than last night. In Grand National there were 6, and I presume a lot less than trucks. So in that regard, these guys didn't do too badly. Plus we got a full green flag pit cycle, which is more than can be said for the last 2 races. So that, all in all, a nice, entertaining race.
Well, almost a full cycle. Huckleberry managed to avoid it, but everyone else did it under green.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that kind of sums it up. It was a pretty solid race here tonight. Made it longer till the first yellow than the truck race. Not quite as long as the Xfinity, but had some good runs. Just to go over the championship 4 one more time, it's going to be Justin Vandermeer, Cale Pocock, Jay Connor, and Caleb Becumer. And we will see them in 2 weeks at Michigan for that championship final. But I think that's going to wrap it up for us here tonight. So on behalf of William White and Carlos Acosta, thanks for joining us on the Elite Racing Network, and have a good night.